Going live.
Good evening. Good evening to all our viewers here. We have a lot of people here who have already started saying hi and hello to us. Dharti, Prateek, Bayani, Saini, Hadia, Kirandeep, Sandeep, welcome to today's session. Basically, this is a session and it's an interview with Prasanjeet over here. So this is Manisha Angre from LeapScholar, and I am here to introduce you to Prasanjeet. Hello, Prasanjeet.
Hi, ma'am. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for asking. So today's actually we are more excited. I don't know how about you, but I am more excited to have you here at the LeapScholar session, or just to have a one-on-one chat with you to understand how you went about with the examination, your preparation. And I know most of our viewers here are also there for the same, to know how you did this amazing, how you got the amazing score that we have. But before I go on to that, I would like you to first tell us something about you, like what do you do, basically what do you do and why you wanted to do the IELTS examination.
So I'm Prasanjeet Chaudhary. Professionally, I have been freelancing as a photographer and a filmmaker for a few years now. And I wanted to go for a master's in film production years ago, but due to some reason or the other, it just didn't happen back then. So last year, I really wanted to do this again. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic, nothing could happen in 2020. So to 2021, I thought seriously, I should really go about my plans this year. And I knew that I had to take the IELTS test anyway, because that was one of the prerequisites for doing any kind of course abroad. So I might have been scrolling through Instagram somewhere in late January when I came across an ad for LeapScholar's free masterclass. Till that time, I had no idea about what the test was all about. All I knew was it's just some test, just like TOEFL or PTE. I had no idea about the modules or the structure, anything like that. So it was free anyway, so I decided to try it out. I signed up, and after a couple of days while attending the masterclass, I thought the session was quite interactive, and Atul sir seemed quite friendly and amicable. So I just attended one masterclass, and after that, I decided to sign up for the month-long course with you. There were two courses back then. I remember Atul sir's class was, I think, in the mornings, but I'm not that comfortable with mornings. I'm more of a night person. So I decided to sign up for the evening course with you. And that was one of the best decisions I ever made, because I didn't know anything about LeapScholar at that time. And since the fees was quite affordable, I thought, I should anyway go for it. Let's see what happens. So that was what was in my mind while going for that.
So I had been lucky to have you in my batch. Then I should say that yes, it was. I was really lucky to have you there. So I want to know that did you appear for academic and general, and I also want to know your detailed score, the module wise score.
Okay, so I appeared for academic, and I went for the computer-based test because I think CBT is way more convenient as opposed to paper-based. And my handwriting is, let's say, some people call it a doctor's handwriting, so I didn't want to risk going for the paper-based test. So CBT was way more convenient. And thank goodness there was a CBT center with British Council, not that far away from where I stay. What was the other question? Sorry.
I wanted to know that why did you okay, what like you say it's far more convenient, so in what ways is CBT more convenient than the paper test? I know many of the students in the class also ask you, you were there in the classes, you know that there's a lot of questions on CBT versus paper test, and should we take a computer test or a paper test. You already opted for the computer test. So what do you feel, what do you would like to tell the students here, that what are the advantages of CBT, why you felt that it was better over the paper test?
First of all, I think most of us have been using computers for years now. It's been 20 years since the digital era boom. So I would assume that most people would be quite comfortable using a computer. There's nothing much to do anyway, you just need some decent typing skills.
Correct.
It had been a long time for me since I had appeared for any kind of a formal test, because during my film schools a few years ago, it was mostly a vocational and hands-on practical training. There weren't any proper sit-down exams like this. So the last time I had appeared for any exam like this was for my bachelor's degree years ago. So I wasn't that comfortable writing long passages with a pencil, especially, and I'm fairly like really fast with typing. So that was one of the reasons, probably one of the main reasons I couldn't have risked bad handwriting in the exam. Also, in the writing module, it's extremely convenient because you can always go back and you can simply backspace and change whatever you want to.
Correct.
You already have the word count at the bottom of the screen, so you don't have to waste time counting your words. And I actually, in one of my tests, which I might talk about ahead, so I did actually change some of the things in one of my
Right.
writing tasks. So it was very convenient. And
Mhm.
even with the other modules, I think mostly computer-based test is way more convenient. Even the reading section is quite intuitive. You have the questions on one side and answers on the other, and you just have to click some of the answers, click and drag the match the heading. So I felt overall it's way more convenient than the paper test.
Okay, that's great. So that was a wise decision, as you say, that going for a CBT test. So for all of you all here, as Prasanjeet also mentions, that it is easier if you have a handwriting that is not legible, then you should opt for a computer test, which I of course always say that. And apart from that, another thing that I always say is that it's easier to type, not to count. There's no hassle of counting the words. There's no hassle of looking at the timer. Also, you can backspace and delete, which definitely Prasanjeet is going to elaborate a little later how what happened with him and why he felt that CBT saved him, was a savior for him. So that was one thing. And we also wanted to, we want everyone to know your module wise scores, what your scores are.
Okay, so I got 7.5 in reading, 8.5 in listening, 8.5 in speaking, and also 8.5 in writing.
Writing.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is, I would say, Prasanjeet, and to everyone, this is, I would say that it is Asia's best score as of now, because 8.5 we do get. Okay, 7 is, people struggle to get a 7 in writing. However, this is an 8.5 in writing. So I still remember the moment Prasanjeet told me that, ma'am, can you guess? And I was like, I couldn't guess at that moment. I said, I'm not able to guess. Could you just say? And when he said 8.5, I was like, I confirmed 8.5 in writing. You're saying that? Yeah, or overall 8.5. And when he said that, I almost jumped out of the chair. That okay, 8.5. This is one of the best scores you can say that anyone has in Asia. So you can say that for this is not a competitive examination. However, it is like one of the best scores you can find in the country so far ever. So very rare. 8.5 is like a rare score in writing. So congratulations once again, Prasanjeet. I would like to
I
say
was
that.
so excited, and I was so happy hearing the excitement in your voice when I had called you and when I had told you my scores. Because I thought I knew it was really good, and overall 8.5 itself is really, I mean, it's as good as it gets. But I didn't know that no one has probably or how rare it was to achieve an 8.5 in writing. So
Yes.
yeah.
So we'll definitely be taking more questions from our viewers here. We still already have around like so many people here wanting to listen to you, what you did and how you scored an 8.5. But before I go on to that, I also want to ask a couple of more questions to you. That first, how did you prepare for IELTS, and can you share your preparation tips like while you were at LeapScholar? And did was the course sufficient for you to prepare?
First of all, so I started preparing from I believe a third Feb batch onwards, because that was the first, that was when we started with our batch. So like I said earlier, before that, I knew nothing about IELTS. So that was when I started preparing. Although I wasn't actively practicing that much during our course. I would practice a little bit. Maybe I would perhaps sometimes do a couple of speaking tests just with myself using a stopwatch on my laptop. I would just practice some speaking part two mostly. Um, Most of the practice during the course was thanks to LeapScholar's mock tests and our classes. After our class finished, actually I wanted to take the test within a week of our course finishing, but due to some reasons I just couldn't. So there was a little bit of delay, about 15-20 days. For some other reasons, I got occupied with some other things. But then immediately when I could, I booked my slot. And after that, when I had already booked the slot, there was a kind of pressure that I felt, because I knew that now I have a deadline in front of me. Although
Correct.
generally I hate working under pressure, but then it also, like, on the flip side, it sort of, it motivates you to work harder and harder, because you know that you don't want to waste 14,000 again. You already have.
Correct. Correct.
Before booking, it's like you procrastinate, and you probably think, I'll just do it, it's fine, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll practice day after. So after booking the test, I had about a week. So that is when I practiced. Like, it was very intense. I mean, it's not that I wasn't practicing before that. I did practice a little bit here and there. I did some reading practice, listening not so much, mostly reading, writing, and speaking. But within that last week, just a few days prior to the actual exam, was when I was very, very intense. And I mostly concentrated on writing and speaking, because I knew that receptive skills are relatively easier compared to productive skills. And also, there's nothing much you can do with reading and listening. You just have to, be extremely attentive and have really good comprehension
Correct.
skills. Yeah, writing and speaking are generally more complicated. So I just concentrated on those two modules about like 5 days prior to the exam.
I also remember, like, during the course, you all as a peer group, you all used to get along and discuss questions also. I remember once I was there in your session when you all, there was a difficulty with one of the passages and you were not able to get that. How could this answer be correct? So that was, I think, when I joined your peer group practice to in order to crack that question. That was relatively, yes, it was, and you all saying, ma'am, it's really difficult to understand how could this sentence be. For a normal person, it would be difficult, but a person who has the language skills may not find it that difficult. So I do remember, despite the fact that Prasanjeet did not put in, could not put efforts after the sessions, but I believe while you were there in the classes regularly, I don't remember any day you were absent in the class.
I
You were
attended
there
all the classes, yeah.
all the classes, not a single day when he was absent, and I had to say that he ever had to say that I was not there in the class. So every day, I think that makes a difference being in the class, because there's a lot of class discussion that goes on and details that we discuss. So I think that helps more than just doing it by yourself. So you get some insight into the classes, and being regular, I think that makes a difference. So one of the key aspects of Prasanjeet's preparation was that even if he did not prepare, he was there in the class, because in the class we solve a lot of questions. And writing, what we do is that I think I make you all write in the class
That's
wherein you all give and wherein you all write. So, and then I give an individual feedback on everything that you have written. So I think that on-spot evaluation that takes place, that also gives an insight. Okay, this is what I have written and this is what I need to write. So that
definitely.
was, I think, one aspect. So I think many people want to know over here that the preparation time that you had, 1 or 1.5 months, is that sufficient? It was that sufficient for you? Do you think that was sufficient, or you felt that no, you could have also cracked in a little lesser time, or you needed more time? Like people say that they start preparing for 6 months and 3 months and 2 months. So what do you think? Is the course structure sufficient for you? Anyone, or you or anyone?
I think anyone with a decent grasp over the English language, a decent command over the language, can, if they work consistently, regularly, if they allocate a few hours, at least 2 or 3 hours, at least every single
Mm-hmm.
day, I think they can get their desired scores in
Mm-hmm.
about a month.
Correct.
Again, how much time one individual would need, that will obviously depend on them,
Correct.
where they stand and how confident they are in taking the exams. So for instance, if someone is looking for seven, expecting a seven band, if while practicing, if they consistently achieve seven, it means that they are already done. They've finished their practice. They should probably book their test. If not, they should continue to practice till they achieve their desired bands during their practice. And I think it's also about confidence. You obviously need to be well versed with the format, and I think LeapScholar definitely helped a lot, because like I said, consistency. We every day we had a class and we were practicing something or the other, even during the class. And of course, after the class, you are supposed to put in some efforts by yourself and practice more, and practice the modules that you feel you are weak in.
Correct.
So for some people, speaking might be hard. For someone else, reading might be more difficult. So work on your weaknesses. So yeah.
Okay, so one tip for you that you have from Prasanjeet is work on your weaknesses, practice more on the module that you find more difficult or challenging. So if speaking is your difficulty, you can form your peer groups and you can start practicing. I think, yeah, there were peer groups also where I think you all practiced speaking, I guess so.
I wanted to actually. I had talked to a couple of people. Unfortunately, I just did one speaking practice with one of my batchmates.
Okay.
I wanted to do it more, but it just
Okay. So yes, whatever is your weakness, work on that module more. That's what you say. So,
that's it.
and yes, of course, attend the sessions every day. And apart from that, also put in some extra time by yourself, 2 hours, 3 hours. How many hours do you think that you would suggest that would be sufficient for the preparation?
Um, if you put in intense work, and again intense depends on it varies from one individual to another, but I think if you have about 1 month, 4 weeks or 5 weeks, then yeah, 3 hours every day should do it for someone with a decent level of English. So
Correct.
if you need help with English, then I would suggest first improve your basic English, get to a certain level where you can understand the passages, where you can speak fluently. You don't need to have some kind of MPhil or PhD in English, but you need a decent command over the language. Yeah, 4 or 5 weeks is enough. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I also want to know that, how was your exam day? And what suggestion, like, did you face anything on the examination day, or was it simple, easy?
Oh, it was very smooth. It was everything was organized. I was glad to see everything so organized in a country like India. But yeah, I was. It was quite smooth. And I was quite anxious before the exam, because that's something I cannot help. I mean, I do tend to get anxious before any kind of interviews or exams. And like I said, I was giving a formal exam after a long time. So, but despite the whatever like apprehensiveness I might have faced, it was very smooth, and I was glad because I mean I could complete, for instance, the reading section. I managed to complete all 40 questions in 1 hour, and the reason I'm saying this is because I was facing a lot of difficulty doing that during my practice tests. It was taking way long. So, but
Yes, I remember you saying that, ma'am, I'm not able to complete the reading in time. So, how did you first of all, how did you work on I think many also want to know that how did you work on you when you feel anxious? Did it really affect your test, or how did you manage that?
Anxiety would affect your speaking section more because you have a live human being in front of you, and it can be nerve-wracking for a lot of people, especially if they're shy or introverted, because you have that pressure that you have to get a certain band, and then also it would depend on what kind of questions they ask, if you have the kind of content needed to answer those questions or not. Yes, nervousness can negatively affect you, but my advice would be try to stay. I mean, it's easier said than done, but try to stay as calm as possible. And the speaking test is actually not a formal interview. It's not a job interview. It's not a visa interview where you have to be all uptight and answer
Correct.
correctly. There's no correct and wrong here. It's
Correct.
so they are overall, from what I've understood, they are testing your overall fluency.
Correct.
So it's okay if you're not perfect, and it's okay if you're not all uptight and using all big words, fancy words. Because I was very natural, almost like I'm talking to you right now. This is how I spoke during my test.
Speaking test as
Yeah,
well.
speaking test.
So, and what about the LRW? So, how did you face your LRW? Did you find any difficulty or anything at the examination center? You gave your exam from Mumbai, I guess.
Yes.
Right. So, did you find anything peculiar about the LRW tests or anything? So, how does it go? How does the CBT test go?
So this was my first attempt only, so I don't know how generally obviously it was my first. It is very smooth. So it starts off. So since I appeared for the CBT, I had all 4 modules on the same day. My speaking was in the morning, and then I
Mhm.
had like 2 or 3 hours gap. I came home because my center was not that far. So I came home, and again, like after a couple of hours, I had some food and then went back. So LRW, so you'd be obviously you'd have your biometric, you'd have a picture taken, you'd have to give your fingerprints. After you have given your fingerprints, finally, just before the LRW, you are locked in. You're basically not even allowed to go to the bathroom after that.
Oh,
That's one of the instructions from them. So after that, yeah, you just they you enter a room where they check your passport. So passport is checked a number of times actually. So they check your passport, and they would have taken a color copy of that before during the speaking test. Then yeah, you sit on computers, and there's a protocol where someone from the center reads out basic information that you're going to start your listening test now. You have to press this, you have to do that. So you got to log in. There's a login screen where they'll give you a piece of paper which is called a login sheet. So you have your username and password. You enter that, and I think you cannot start the test till they allow you to. So they'll tell
okay.
you now, you may start your test now. So you click and your timer starts. Listening is the first module. When half an hour or whatever, when the time is done, it automatically logs out.
So, you were given headphones?
Yeah. Headphones were already attached to the computer. They were desktop computers, Windows, and yeah, headphones were already attached. So yeah, we were given headphones. Yeah.
So it played for. So I also get this question that can we, like, what do you suggest that can we write the answers on a paper in a computer test? Can we write an answer on the paper, and then when you have some time to look at the questions, should we type the answers then? Making notes is not possible in CBT. So what did you
So
do?
I wouldn't suggest that during doing that. I would suggest doing that for the listening part. Reason being, first of all, the user interface is extremely intuitive. And I mean, I'm not in the IT field, but I am quite tech savvy. So I really love the user interface. It is very user friendly. So,
Correct.
but you have to be so fast. If you take your hands off, and it was my first time, like I said, I was quite kind of nervous. So I didn't want to risk it. I did have one piece of paper, just that rough sheet. I mean, not even a rough sheet, the login sheet actually. I wouldn't suggest taking your hands off the keyboard or mouse should you miss 1 or 2 questions.
Correct.
Yeah, so for the computer test at least. For the paper based, I think some people have told me that they have difficulties doing multiple choice questions,
Mhm.
especially if the options are long. Because you can't go through everything in the 30 seconds that you get before.
Correct.
Yeah, so for that, they might try jotting down some key points on the question paper itself. So that is perhaps the only positive aspect about the paper-based test over the
For listening.
or listening. Yeah.
And what about reading? Did you find reading challenging because
Uh,
you already felt that reading consumes more time for you?
Reading, yeah, reading is difficult. Reading is very, I think, time constraint is quite a big issue. So it's very difficult to complete all 40 questions somehow. I mean, I had practice. I might not have practiced hundreds of passages, but I did consistently. I remember getting better and better as I was practicing prior to the actual exam. So I might have started from like 1 hour, 20 minutes, then I came to 1 hour, 15, 10, 5. But yeah, I was really, I was happy that I could manage to, complete all 40
So
questions.
again, so the UI, the user interface for reading, even that is comfortable, right?
Yeah,
Scroll.
extremely comfortable. The only thing is you just have to do, instead of single click, you have to click first. If you want to highlight something, you left click, highlight it, right click, and then click on highlight. So
Highlight.
a couple of clicks it takes a while, but then that's just how it
That's
is.
fine, but I think it's like a practice. There are sample tests available, so anyone who doesn't know how it works, they can go and check the sample test on IDP as well as British Council. So they have this click thing, highlighting thing that helps. Okay, one question that students ask a lot: can you do Control F on, in the test to
No, no, no,
find a word?
Yeah, I mean, that would be cheating. That would be like a
Yeah,
cheat code
correct.
that you can use. So I mean, that is what everyone wants. So no, that's disabled. You cannot do that.
Right. So you can highlight, but you cannot control F is not possible in the test, because then it won't be fair to anyone who's giving a paper test. So to maintain the fairness of the test, they don't allow you to do the control F. So I think that's a nice tip for everyone. Okay. And what about writing? The main, I think everyone. So can you all just let us know what do you want to know about writing and how he prepared for writing? So I think we have a lot of questions. We would have a lot of questions for you for the writing. That what did you do that you scored an 8.5?
Okay, so first of all,
And the exam day also. What happened on the exam day?
right. So I'd like to start from my preparation time with Leap. When you had started teaching us the writing module, I was quite confused. First of all, one of the questions I had was what kind of tenses should we use, and should we use active voice and passive voice? So I had asked you as well as Diksha ma'am, should for example, I had very like specific questions. Can we use the word I in like because I is like, you know, it makes it a little informal. So she had told me that you can use it in the thesis statement, try to not use it in the body paragraphs.
Correct.
So then I was like, okay, that was clear, but then still I was not 100% sure what exactly to write, what tenses to use. And I remember the few mock tests that we had from Leap. I was not I wasn't like faring quite well. That's quite, it was disappointing to see my 6.5 or whatever I might have got during that time, and I was unsure of what was going wrong. So one thing I noticed was I was making too many silly errors. So I just thought, okay, that's not something. It's not about your content or English. I was just making some silly typos or very silly errors. So that I thought, okay, I'd have to take care of that. Other than that, I was writing too long. Like my passages were like writing task one should be at least 150. Every passage of mine was over 200.
Correct. I
And
remember.
writing task two, I think clearly everything was over 300.
Right.
So, and I was like, what do I do? I mean, it's not that I purposely tried to write long, but it was just, I mean, it just happened. So I thought, okay, well, thank God there's no upper limit. But you had told us that the longer you are, there are more chances of doing mistakes. So try to keep it like within 300, hopefully like 280 words or something like that. So I did notice consistently with practice that I did improve even in my mock tests. I just briefly went back and checked what was going wrong exactly so that I could work on that. So I did notice improvement. It's still hard to explain, but you have to be precise. 150
Correct.
words is not that much. 250 is also not that much actually. So you
It's
have to
too
be,
less.
it's too less actually, yeah. So you have to be very precise, and in that like precise and concise, and have as much information as possible in that short time frame, as well as in 250 words or 280 words. And what else? Yeah. So I went through a few random websites also after our course was done to understand what is expected from different types of questions, discussion type, agree, disagree, etc., etc. So one doubt that I had, which was, should we write? Let's say there's a question like, some people believe that children should be monitored while watching television. Let's say it's an agree or disagree question. So in the thesis statement, are we supposed to only write, I agree with this view and shall elaborate about it in the following paragraphs, or should we also write a couple of reasons in the thesis statement itself? So I saw both people doing both on various websites. I was a little confused which is the correct way. So to be on the safe side, I actually like not elaborated, but I did mention it
Did mention.
in the thesis statement just to be on the safe side.
Correct. So it's a good way to so yes, definitely when you're writing a thesis statement, it is always good to let the reader know what you're going to talk about. So what you do agree, that's a thesis statement wherein you do say that this is the thesis statement. That means I agree, or I disagree, or I partially agree, or I strongly agree. However, when you say why you agree, a brief, like, you know, it could be a phrase on I agree for this reason. When you say that, the reason, the reader gets a clarity. Okay, this is what you're going to talk about in your coming paragraphs, and that's what he or she is looking for in your body paragraphs. Okay, because that's what you've already mentioned in the introduction. So as they go about, they try to connect that is your introduction and are the introductions and the body paragraphs connected because of the thesis statement. So that's a very clear thing or a wonderful thing to do, because that's completely clear.
Is that
And the
compulsory,
more
or is it compulsory, or is it an optional thing? Like you may or may not write
some
what?
people don't write. It's okay to not write. If you only say that I agree or I disagree, it's okay. But when you give a reason along with that for your agreement or your disagreement, it gives more clarity that you are going to talk about this particular topic. Like yesterday in the we had a live session yesterday where we were discussing that I agree or disagree because the reason is sedentary lifestyle. So when the when the examiner reads the word sedentary lifestyle, he's expecting you to write something on the sedentary lifestyle. And for whatever you state over there, he's expecting. So when you have written, I agree, I disagree, even that is not wrong. It's not wrong at all. But it gives more clarity. So the entire purpose of writing your essay is that whatever you write, there should be clarity throughout. The examiner should clearly understand what you're writing. So no ambiguity, no ambiguous sentences they talk about and elaborate too many things, and I'm not understanding what exactly are you trying to say. So sometimes it's like, even in the classes I have to ask, so was that an introduction or a body paragraph? Because I don't get the clarity what the student has written. Sometimes it makes an introduction makes me feel it's so detailed written. I have to ask, have you written a body paragraph? And they say, no, ma'am, that's an introduction. I say, then it's too detailed for an introduction. So it's like you need to be very clear what the introduction needs to be introduced. It's like introducing a topic. And so students ask that should be paraphrased. So of course you have to paraphrase, because that's when because you don't have a heading over here. IELTS essays do not have a heading, they have a prompt. So when you paraphrase a prompt, it's clear that you're actually writing on the same topic. You're not writing something else. So writing and paraphrasing the prompt is important. Writing the thesis statement where you're trying to say what you're going to discuss in the essay, and then going about with the essay. So these are all crucial aspects of IELTS essay writing. So different examinations can have different formats also, but this is peculiar to IELTS.
That's right.
So what happened on the exam day?
Overall, or only during the writing section?
The writing. We discussed listening and reading. And so I want to know what happened on the exam day for writing. I think everyone wants to know that.
Okay, so like I said, you'll be first doing it in sequence. So listening is first, reading second, and then writing. So obviously you might already be a little bit exhausted or whatever by the end, by the time you're done with reading. Although I was happy, like I said, because I managed to complete all 40 questions. I was satisfied with myself at least. So when I was more worried about writing task 1 than 2, the reason being that the task 1 has a little more stringent criteria as opposed to what kind of words you can use. Task 2 is a little bit, I mean, there is a little bit more leeway, and you have a little bit more freedom to personalize and explore into within the confines of the structure, of course, but there's a little bit more freedom. So I just wished I don't get one of those complicated process type or like some really complicated 3 pie charts and 2 bar graphs or anything like that during writing task 1. So thankfully that didn't happen. I got a line graph. I felt I was so like happy to see the line graph. It was I felt it was quite easy. The only thing that I was like not worried, but the only thing that I needed to take care of was to not do the mistakes that I had done during the mock tests. So I had few points in mind, and thank God. I mean, with the correction and the experience that I've had with the Leap coaching, I could at least know where I was going wrong and where I should improve. So I used a variety of words. I didn't go overboard. There weren't that many things in the line graph actually, because that was also one of the confusion that I had. Because if there are, let's say, 10 different things, should you actually talk about all 10? Which ones should you talk about? Because mostly they say compare the relevant detail, talk about the main ideas.
Friends.
You don't actually have to mention percentage of each and everything. So I was very precise. I used a range of words. I used connectors very well. I had noticed that you had told me that generally my writing task 1 was quite like mechanical. So I used a range of connectors, and I'm glad. So yeah, writing task 1 was like thankfully quite it was quite easy for me at least.
Correct. Yes, obvious. That was very obvious. Prasanjeet had amazing vocabulary. I think it's not that you have learned; it's that something that he substitutes and uses a range of words. So he doesn't bring about fancy words, but the common words that you know. I think that is what you generally replace. And the way comparisons were made were really very wonderful. The only that when during the mock test, one thing that I had observed was that initially you were writing mechanically that this respectively, this then. So number one, number two, number three, number four, so on. So there were not many comparisons. However, you did write it and it went overboard, then more than 200 words and so on. So, just bringing down to the time range and also making sure that you're writing more of comparisons than mechanically putting down your points. So I also know that during the examination, I think the essay thing, there was something that helped because of the CBT. That something had happened and that helped you to the CBT. So here is something that Prasanjeet would talk about the examination day and how CBT became a savior to him.
Right. So some people had also asked me, how do you you do task 2 first and task 1? I did everything in sequence. The reading I did in sequence, listening anyway you have to do in sequence. So everything, even reading and even task 1 and task 2, I did in sequence. Now writing task 2, I had paraphrased and I was happy with the language that I had used. It was a really good paraphrase that I used, because I knew that opening, it's the first impression is important. So the examiner should know that you've understood the question, as well as you can use a range of words to substitute them. So anyway, so I did the paraphrase, and then I was thinking for about a couple of minutes about what exactly, like I was trying to generate content. I didn't want to waste too much time because I knew that time is restricted. So after a couple of minutes, I had to force myself to come up with something, and I just wrote it. I wasn't happy, but I just wrote it in the introduction para. I thought, should if I so as to not forget it, tentatively I'll just write it down and let's see what happens. When I started writing the body paragraphs, then the actual points somehow, I got the actual points. I completed everything, body para 1, 2. In fact, I got another point. So I wrote 3 body paras, by the way. So 3 body paras and then the conclusion. After that, I went back and changed the introduction para, because like I said, I had written 2 completely different points which I thought were not effective, and they were just not that great. So according to whatever I had written in the body paragraphs, I changed with paraphrase, by the way. So I did write the same thing 3 times, but in 3 different ways. And I again went and checked if I was using any word, like if there was any kind of repetition. So for instance, the word important. So necessary, crucial, important, what else?
Significant?
Significant, yes. So I didn't use any repetition. I tried to go through.
And they are all simple words.
Yeah, they are all
No
simple.
fancy words. See, so it's all about using simple words but variety.
Right.
So here, someone wants to know, like I think Diksha ma'am wants to know that how many words did you write in both the tasks in the actual exam?
Writing task 1 was exactly 200. I remember the figure somehow, and 2, I remember the figure 8. I think it was either 380 or 388. It was very long.
Oh.
I wrote 3 paragraphs. It was a kind of a risk, but then I made sure not to make errors. So it was 380 or 388.
Yeah, Mitrashi, yes, imperative is also correct. We have a lot of questions here. Someone wants to know, okay, what documents did you carry on the day of the examination to the center?
You only have to carry your passport and a color Xerox of your passport. And 1 pen or pencil is allowed. Just 1.
Okay. Did you not take the print of the mail that you received?
No. You don't need to do that.
Okay.
Because your passport number is your candidate ID. So with that, they already have your record. So you don't have to take any printout.
Right.
That is
Okay.
yeah.
The next question that I want to ask you is, okay, this is a little funny also. What is the biggest myth you think students have for their IELTS preparation?
Biggest myth. Okay, one thing that just comes to my mind right off the bat is that you have to use extremely big words and very, very fancy, uncommon Shashi Tharoor kind of linguistic. No, you don't have to do that. It's okay if you have some uncommon words. You don't have to. So I said this during one of your classes a few days ago. Try to avoid dropping big words out of context. If you don't understand the meaning of any word, don't use it. Use words which you can understand and try to naturally incorporate and inculcate newer words into your vocabulary. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time for you to learn a language or get better at it. So yeah, just don't make it seem all like fake or inorganic. So yeah,
Correct.
try to think natural.
Inorganic.
Yeah.
Inorganic would be the right word. So the biggest myth Prasanjeet is mentioning is not using the fancy words. Okay. One more thing. What would be your top 3 tips or advice for all the test takers?
I would say first thing is while preparing, considering you already have a decent grasp over English. If not, then you need to improve your English. So consistency is important. You should try to practice every single day. I think it's not such a difficult test. It's not easy. I wouldn't say that it's a piece of cake. It's fairly difficult, mostly because of the time. Time is very like in every module, almost every module time, you'll find yourself short on time. So yeah, consistency. That's point number 1.
So consistency in your practice is point number 1.
That's
Second.
one. I think of anything. Okay, while speaking, you need to be witty. You're not tested on your wit exactly, but you need to be witty because you don't have any time. You have to come up with something. So try to remain calm. I was not that calm, but I was okay. Like, as I got nervous because it was my first time and it was important for me. Think of the examiner as a friendly person, not as some visa officer. It's not a visa interview. So they also understand that it can be nerve-wracking and people can be nervous. So my examiner was very, very like she seemed, she was an older lady and she was very like, she seemed quite cordial and warm. So try to stay calm during the speaking interview, because I know a lot of people, especially from India, are very, very nervous during their for their speaking, and there's a lot of fumbling and there's a lot of and also just stay calm. And if you speak a little slower, you would have a little more time to think. I did this mistake, and I'm speaking from experience. I was speaking quite fast because I don't know, maybe probably because of nervousness, but not crazy fast. So I was fluent enough, so it worked.
Right. And third?
Third.
So be consistent and be a little witty in your speaking. And
can't think of a third one. Let's see. Okay, it's a general point. Try to get enough sleep a day before your exam.
right.
I can't actually think of any technical point right now. So,
okay. So yes, rest is important. I too believe so that it is better to not work until the last day. The last day should be relaxing, where so that you are in the frame to appear for the examination. So last day should be chilling. You shouldn't be pressurized too much with the thought of the examination. Watch a movie or so. That's what I feel. That watching a movie or so and diverting your mind helps in calming your nerves. Diksha ma'am has something to ask. She's asking, how did you manage to proofread such a long answer, 388 words that you sing?
My general typing speed is more than twice that of the average people, and I'm saying this because I've just for fun, many years back I'd done a random typing test online. On my laptop, so the average typing speed of people is 40. Like on Google says it's 40.
Okay.
My highest was around 97 or something.
Wow, amazing.
So obviously, it wasn't as fast on the mechanical keyboard, but still, I typed quite fast, and I did manage to finish it in like a good amount of time. And I am glad I did, because then I went back and proofread both of them. I had made one small little error in writing task 1. There was something related to China and Japan. It was a silly error, something like what I was making in one of the mock tests, in some of the mock tests actually.
Correct.
So instead of China, I wrote Japan twice or something like that. So I changed that. I'm glad I could. So yeah.
So Yeah, so we would like to take some questions from our students also, but most of the questions I have already asked and you've already answered for them, that how did you prepare for this, how did you prepare for writing, and so. But if there are any other questions, you can type here in the chat so that there is any particular thing that you want to ask Prasanjeet. I think he will be willing to answer. Did you use to, okay, one question that I have is, just how to how okay, yeah, how did you practice speaking?
I actually didn't practice much, but how I did was with my laptop. So I, by the way, this is one important point. Thank you to LeapScholar for having the cue card PDF. That was a lifesaver, because yeah, that was a lifesaver. I think that is important. Hopefully, if everything if everything unfolds well, and in the future after 4-5 years, if I have to take the general test again, I would hopefully LeapScholar will still be training then. So I'll have to
Definitely.
contact you, and I just need that, because everything is I can do. I just need that cue
Cue
card.
card. The cue card list that we provide in the
Very,
class is the life
very,
savior.
very important. So I used to have a stopwatch on my laptop and that cue card PDF open, and I pretended as if there was a human being asking me those questions. And yeah, I used to monitor my time and yeah, speak like that.
Self-analysis. Yes, Rajgeeta ma'am is saying self-analysis of mistakes during your prep. I think that is
Definitely,
what you
definitely,
had been introspective of your mistakes.
especially for the writing part. Yeah, definitely.
Right, especially for the writing part. Okay, someone is asking how many minutes did you spend for both preparation and proofreading, both your writing task?
Uh, I actually don't remember the time. I had sufficient amount of. I actually don't remember, so there's no point. Yeah. But I had sufficient time left when I finished.
Do you get break between listening, writing, and reading?
Not really, just 1 minute or less than that. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so in listening, how many minutes do you get? Like in paper test, they have 10 minutes to write down their answers. So in computer test, do you have 10 minutes, or how much time do you have actually to look at the question answers?
So you have 30 seconds before and after each section, where they'll tell you that you have 30 seconds to look at this section, and then 30 seconds afterward. At the end, I think 2 minutes, if I remember correctly. 2 minutes to go through all 40 or whatever, all 40 questions.
Somebody's asking, so how do you get the cue card PDF? You need to join our classes to get the cue card PDF, which we provide in the classes. Any reading tip?
So one tip I think I had seen in, I think Diksha ma'am, some class, some live YouTube session or something, that generally match the heading. If you're doing match the heading types, if you don't want to waste too much time and going through all the entire passage, uh, try to read the first two sentences. So this is,
Mhm.
I think this is true. First two sentences and last two sentences. Mostly you'll
Mhm.
get an idea, rough idea what the passage is all about from the first two sentences. If not, sometimes, and this happened during my test, by the way, one of the, I think in section 2, I read the first two, but I didn't get it, and it was very confusing. They had purposely put the actual meaning in the last two sentences.
It does
And
happen.
yeah, so I went through, and then I was like at the second last sentence or something. That was when I got to know what it was.
What did you do to improve upon idea building in writing? I guess you've read a lot.
Not really. I mean, idea building is actually difficult, to be honest. If you have, because I was confident with my English skills, idea building, I just try to think of all my knowledge that I've gained all my life. Honestly, I don't have any, sorry to say, there's no secret to this. I wish I had some secret, but I just thought of everything, whatever knowledge I have gained all my life. I just tried to relate to like the question, and try to come up with whatever I could. So.
You're getting a hearty congratulations from Rajgeeta ma'am, who's our L&D head, learning and training head. So learning and development head is Rajgeeta ma'am, and she's congratulated for your scores. Is it essential to use idiomatic expressions to get a 7+?
You should try to do that, yes. But no, I think idioms are not. I think idioms are not allowed in writing. In speaking, yes. I think idioms are not allowed in writing, from what I understand, because it's quite kind of not. It's not.
Informal.
Yeah. So in speaking, yes.
Right. So did you take IDP or British Council?
British Council.
Okay. So did you get your Q card topic? Okay. So did you get your Q card topic from the LeapScholar Q card PDF?
Yes.
Yes, that's the reason he says that it is a savior. Right. So I guess most of the questions that we have here, we have answered all of them. Somebody's asked here, I think that question is for me. Bhayani. Okay, I have my QA higher examination test. Is it same as IELTS examination? Only writing task one is not in this test. I want to know how the band scale is calculated for this. Bhayani, you can connect with us on Telegram for this. At the present, it will be too long for me to answer that. Did you read any? Okay, I think we have covered up everything that everyone is asking for. So thank you, Prasanjeet. We are really glad to have you at LeapScholar, and really glad that you were one of our students. And we wish you luck in all your future endeavors, right from the visa to the admission process to the visa, and all the future endeavors that you want to take upon.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to LeapScholar helping me out with the applications as well. So,
Definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. Yes, yes, yes. We are definitely on it. That will be taken care of. So I think best wishes from all of you all. Okay, so there's one question right coming at last. May I know, on a scale of 1 to 10, how optimistic were you while appearing for the exam? In addition to that, what do you think should be the mindset of an individual on the day of the test?
I honestly wasn't expecting 8.5. I just wanted a decent score because I knew that this is not a general test. It's not going to give me points exactly. I wish this were a general test, then I would have gotten, like, crazy CRS points. But I was fairly positive. I was just hoping that I get a decent score. I was probably hoping for or expecting an 8. I'm glad I got 8.5. So I had, like, yeah. So I was you happy. You should be positive. Yeah.
Correct. How did you prepare? What resources did you prepare from?
So firstly, see, mostly it was the LeapScholar, whatever material, Cambridge books, short tests and all that we did during our classes and on the Telegram group. Sometimes, small questions are posted. Other than that, there are a number of websites like IELTS Liz and IELTS Mentor, IELTS Advantage, all of these. So they have some free materials, practice tasks, and there are a lot of YouTube videos as well. Like I think there's something called like Fast Track IELTS, and a lot of websites. They have some free material, some paid courses. So I went through some of the free material on YouTube. So yeah, it was a combination of everything.
Right. Thank you once again, Prasanjeet. So we will be looking forward to you doing doing better and better in the future. So congratulations, and